Skeletons of the Marital Closet by Tang. Chapter 1711. He did not dare to mention the previous incident regarding Joshua's identity or her being Molly. There was no point in bringing up past grievances. If he did, Gale would only get angrier. Gale replied, "I haven't decided yet, but I'm pretty angry right now. Should I kneel on nails or washboards? Maybe remote controls?" Gale rolled her eyes. "That's a bit much. It makes me seem like I've treated you terribly." Shawn sighed deeply. "Gale, punish me, hit me, scold me, anything, just don't ignore me, please?" What can he do? If he had known it would turn out this way, he would not have followed Ivy at all. "I just want to ignore you." As she spoke, the elevator doors opened. Fiona reflexively lifted her head. "Mr. Wood? Huh?" This was Mr. Wood's exclusive elevator. So, every time this elevator door opened, Fiona would be there to greet him first. But today, something was off. The woman in his arms seemed to be his wife, although she could not quite make out the silhouette. Shawn gazed back coldly. Fiona quickly lowered her head. The elevator doors closed slowly. "Hey Shawn, what are you doing? We've already arrived." Gale asked. "If you're not angry, we'll go out." "Shawn. You're threatening me." He rubbed her hair. "If one does wrong, one must be punished." "Punish me." Gale tried to struggle, but he held her tightly, and she could not move at all. Her way of coaxing Shawn was to flatter him, apologize, and endure physical torment at night. Shawn's way of coaxing her was to cling to her. Why was he such a rogue? "Do you have a masochistic streak? You have to be punished to feel good?" Gale asked. "Yes, I feel better when you punish me." Gale thought for a moment, and she finally got it. This trick was simply brilliant. However, she remained calm and indifferent on the surface. "Since you're so eager to be punished, I'll kindly indulge you." Shawn looked at her. "Starting tonight, you will sleep on the floor." Gale could not hold back, smiling slightly. A look of astonishment flashed across Shawn's face. "The floor? Sleep on the floor?" "Yes." Shawn pursed his lips. "Gale, are you trying to kill me?" He was accustomed to sleeping with her in his arms. He had to have her in his arms to feel secure. Otherwise, he would have insomnia. Over the years, Shawn's insomnia persisted, but as long as Gale was by his side, it never occurred. "Sleeping on the floor is killing you?" Chapter 1712. "If I can't sleep with you, I might as well sleep in my grave. Give me another punishment." Gale shook her head. "No way. If you don't want to, fine. I'm not saying I have to punish you, but you asked for it. Alright, I've done as you said, but you are not willing to do so. Shawn, are you playing games with me?" Of course, Shawn was not willing. He still wanted to coax her, but Gale looked stern and intimidating. "Let go of me." Shawn hesitated, feeling a bit unsure. Should he agree? For how many nights? Shawn asked, being cautious. He was quite cautious. However, Gale changed her mind suddenly. "I've changed my mind. Shawn, even if you sleep on the floor, we're still in the same room. Maybe you'll climb onto the bed while I'm asleep and go back to the floor before I wake up." "So, you sleep in the guest room," she said firmly, kicking Shawn out. Shawn's face instantly turned black. This was scarier than sleeping on the floor. "That's settled. I'm going to the jewelry department. Mr. Wood, focus on your work. And remember, don't casually give your blazer to other women," Gale said, pressing the button for the floor. Shawn encircled her waist with one hand. "Gale, about those photos. What if I told you they were taken by someone who planted the paparazzi there? What would you think?" Gale had suspected the same. Especially since Ivy was unaware, those photos were clearly aimed at Shawn. "It doesn't matter what I think. If you have some suspensions, go find evidence and uncover the truth. Can't you handle such a small matter?" Gale said. "All right. I'll give you the truth." At that moment, the elevator came to a slow stop. They had arrived at the floor. Gale turned gracefully, waiting for the elevator doors to open. Suddenly, Shawn called her back. "Wait." She turned instinctively. "You still have, Shawn kissed her. He did not linger, just pecked her briefly, then swiftly released her. "All right. Bye," he said. The whole process took less than 3 seconds. Before Gale could react, Shawn had retreated back into the elevator, a slight smirk on his lips. Gale touched her lips. That cunning Shawn. This was the jewelry department. People were coming and going, and he suddenly kissed her like that. She felt so embarrassed. How could she face her colleagues? However, Gale could not confront him anymore as the elevator doors had closed. She stood in place. Her colleagues who had witnessed the scene looked at her teasingly. Shawn and his wife were truly deeply in love. Even after just a short separation, they had to kiss. Such a public display of affection. Gale felt her face burning as she quickly returned to her desk, gulping down water. "Gale, you're back," Peach said. "When Mr. Wood came looking for you, his face went dark when he didn't see you." "Did you see him?" she said. "I did," Gale answered absent-mindedly. She felt a slight ache in her abdomen. Was it from walking too fast just now? Or was she too nervous? Chapter 1713. After some thought, Gale stood up, preparing to leave. "Oh. Gale, where are you going now?" "The restroom." Peach looked puzzled. Gale had just gone to the restroom, and then she left the jewelry department looking displeased. Peach glanced at the time in the bottom right corner of her computer. Time had not turned back. She turned back to see Gale walking toward the restroom. Gale had no idea what kind of day it was. Everything seemed to pile up all at once. She had been busy all morning, accomplishing nothing, and was now sulking. She might be getting sick. Why else would her lower abdomen hurt out of nowhere? Gale sat on the toilet and froze when she saw the bright red stain. Was she getting her period? Yes, it had been delayed for so long that she almost forgot what it felt like. Menstruation meant abdominal pain, backaches, and loss of appetite. So, she was not pregnant, but it was just a delayed period. Gale heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed unnecessary to go for the checkup now. Her body was perfectly normal. Perhaps the stress from taking care of Joshua at the hospital and being nervous had caused the delay. Everything was normal now. Gale called Peach. "Hey, Peach, could you bring me a sanitary pad?" "Ah, sure, Gale, wait a moment." Gale was grateful for Peach's efficiency. She was smart and quick-witted, a really great girl overall. Gale wondered what would happen if Peach and Sam got together. If they got married, would Peach stop working? Work life would be less fun. Back at her desk, Gale saw a cup of sugar water. "Peach, did you make this?" "Yes, Gale, drink some. It'll make you feel better." Gale sighed. "Girls are just the cutest." "Oh, by the way, please don't tell anyone about my period," Gale said. Peach looked puzzled. "Gale, who would ask you if you got your period?" "Right, who would ask indeed?" Gale was just guarding against Shawn. She knew he would figure something out about the third child. With his intelligence, he must have understood something from the calendar she kept by the bedside. Now, Gale and Shawn were in an awkward phase. He probably suspected but did not want to ask. Since she was not telling him, it would keep him on edge. Serve him right for holding on to her mistakes. The tables had turned. Peach, I'm worried that my colleagues might notice I'm on my period this week and reduce my workload. I don't want to delay everyone's progress," Gale said. The excuse barely held up. Peach nodded. "Okay, Gale, don't worry. My lips are sealed." "Are you sure?" Chapter 1714. Peach solemnly swore, "I promise. I won't mention this matter at all." It was just a small thing without any gossip value. Peach could keep it to herself. Gale felt relieved. It was better not to let Peach know the big secret. Young people had loose lips. At noon, in the employee cafeteria, Gale pushed her food around, not feeling hungry. "What's wrong? Any issues with today's menu?" "Look at how little you've eaten," Summer asked. "I can't eat. I'm just not hungry at all." "Are you planning to become a fairy?" "I'm already a fairy." Summer was speechless. Could it be? "Oh, it's because of the photos of Shawn and Ivy, right?" Summer suddenly realized something. Gale panicked. "Shoo. Don't let anyone hear." "Why are you so nervous?" "It's Shawn who should be sorry to you. I was actually going to ask you about it." Gale said, "It's all a misunderstanding. Shawn and Ivy didn't do anything. It's just paparazzi, trying to stir up a scandal for clicks." Summer looked incredulous. "A scandal? Tell me, how much effort does a photographer need to angle a photograph that could capture her snuggling up to Shawn? Did the paparazzi Photoshop her coat on her?" "It really was just a misunderstanding. Anyway, Shawn didn't betray me, and he didn't do anything wrong. Ivy isn't that kind of person." Suddenly, Summer fell silent, giving Gale a strange look. Gale felt uneasy under her gaze. "What's wrong? After something like this happened, you're still enduring it and defending Shawn. Gale, when did you become so foolish?" Confused, Gale said, "Enduring what? What foolishness?" This really is just a misunderstanding. Summer reached out to touch her forehead. You're not running a fever. You're perfectly fine. It's the Gale I know. I'm saying, could it be that you're already burdened by the duties of a rich wife? Gale pushed her hand away. If I acted like a rich wife, why would I still be working? I'd just spend my days eating and drinking, not working. A rich wife is the main wife. The main wife must learn to endure. Gale, don't you dare learn that, Summer said seriously. Summer, how many times do I have to explain? Gale felt like Summer had already imagined a whole drama series in her head. Let me tell you something, Gale. No matter how wealthy and powerful the Wood family is, you still need to have principles and integrity. You shouldn't lower your status and accept something you shouldn't. Did Shawn slip you some kind of love potion? Now you're defending him. Have you forgotten the times we cursed him together? If Shawn really had something going on with Ivy, those photos are your evidence. You can sue him and take legal action against him. He's in the wrong, the child will be yours, and you'll get more marital assets. Gale hurriedly interrupted her. Stop, stop, stop. Summer, I'll say this once, if Shawn ever does anything to hurt me, and if I don't divorce him, then You'll what? I'll be a dog. Chapter 1715. Summer shook her head. That's not horrible enough. Gale said, anyway, I won't compromise myself. Summer thought for a moment. Her best friend had a strong character. She was not forlornly lovesick, watching her husband cheat on her helplessly. Something was not right. Summer nodded. But you still need to be cautious. Today, it's Ivy. Tomorrow, it could be another woman throwing herself at Shawn. Why should I be cautious? It's up to the man to have self-control. If he wants to cheat, even if I'm with him 24/7, he'll find a way to indulge in temptations. Summer nodded even harder. Exactly. So, Gale, men don't matter, money does. You need to save some money in a different account. At critical moments, your own money is the most reliable. You can use it whenever you want without asking anyone. I got it, I got it. After chatting, Summer lost her appetite, poking at her food. Why can't men just be faithful? Is it that hard? Some women just can't keep themselves chaste even knowing the other person is married. They keep throwing themselves at them. Gale suddenly leaned in conspiratorially. She nudged Summer's shoulder. Shawn is married, but your Joe is currently single. What do you mean by your? When did Joe become mine? Soon he will be. Everyone knows Shawn is married, but women keep throwing themselves at him. Joe is single, and he's even nicer than Shawn. How many women do you think are throwing themselves at him? Summer paused, seeming to consider the logic. But, so far, Joe hasn't been involved in any scandals or rumors with women. No messy entanglements have come up in the rumor mill, Gale continued. Right, that made sense. However, Summer still said, perhaps that's because his methods are quite sophisticated, and he can charm them into obedience and submission. With his playboy image, he must have ways to deal with women. Have you ever seen him with another woman? Summer could not answer. She had not, really. Neither have I. If Joe had any issues, I would have pried it out of Shawn's mouth long ago and told you, Gale said. Summer changed the subject. Why are you suddenly talking about him? Let's eat. I'm reminding you, Summer. Joe's ability to maintain his integrity and resist those women's temptations suggests decent character. He's not a scoundrel playing with emotions. You need to grab him tightly, or else another woman might snatch him away, and you'll have nowhere to cry. I'd be happy if some woman snatched him away. It would save me from his constant pestering. After returning to Sea City, Joe mentioned the bet they had made. The one she had lost, which she had already fulfilled, was over. She had been his girlfriend for a month. However, did she not make another bet with him? They bet on whether he would fall in love with her. Summer was determined to win this bet. How could Joe possibly fall in love with her? Chapter 1716. It seemed like she had won. Joe was asking her if she wanted him to be her servant. Why did Summer feel like she had won so uncomfortably? She could not express what she was feeling. The more she thought about it, the more annoyed she became. Hey, my child could already go out shopping by himself, and here you are, still single. I'm worried. Gale sighed repeatedly. Summer, give me a straight answer. If you don't like Joe, just tell me directly. I'll keep an eye out for eligible guys around you. Maybe you'll meet one this month, start dating next month, and get married the month after. Why are you rushing? When you meet the right person, things move fast. Come on, tell me, do you really have feelings for Joe? Gale said. I find you quite interesting. I'm leaving. Summer avoided her gaze, put down her cutlery, and walked away. If Gale kept asking, she would not know how to answer. Gale trailed behind her, smiling slyly. Joe seems like a player, but he's actually just lonely. And you seem like a nice queen, but you're actually just a sad, single woman. He's so indecisive. If he were more direct, more assertive, he would have already got the girl. It's up to the man to take the initiative. You two have been like this for so many years, without even a hint of progress. It's making me anxious. Summer grabbed an apple from the fruit area and stuffed it into Gale's mouth. Stop talking. You're almost like reciting the Bible. I don't recite to just anyone. Just then, Gale's phone rang. Seeing this, Summer breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, some peace and quiet. Hello, Orem. Summer suddenly became alert, staring without blinking. Gale, are you free tonight? Tonight? What's up? Do you have something planned? Nothing, just wanted to have dinner with you, Orem said. Gale did not immediately agree. Having dinner alone with Orem was not very appropriate. It seemed like Orem knew her concerns because he added, "We can invite Mary." That made Gale feel embarrassed. Orem was still so considerate, thinking about her feelings, knowing she would feel awkward, so he suggested inviting Mom. Honestly, if Mary were there, it would only make things more awkward between her and Orem. No need. My mom is on a health regimen. She only eats fruits and salads at night, Gale said. So, would you be joining me for dinner? Gale hesitated again. Should she go? Both options seemed inappropriate. Beside her, Summer was frantically signaling her with her eyes, "Go, go. Why aren't you going?" "Forget it, I was too abrupt. It's just that today's my birthday, and I wanted to spend some time with you," Orem said. What? Orem's birthday. Then she definitely had to go. Okay, Gale replied. I'll send you the restaurant location later. You don't need to be too formal. No need to bring a gift. Just consider it an ordinary dinner. Orem smiled. How could that be? I have to celebrate your birthday. With you here, this birthday is perfect. After hanging up, Orem's face showed a satisfied smile. Every one of Gale's reactions was within his expectations. She had once spent so much time with him that he could predict her behavior perfectly. Chapter 1717. He knew she would hesitate, so he first suggested inviting Mary. Then, if Gale still hesitated, he would step back and take the opportunity to mention his birthday today. Then, Gale would soften, and she would have no reason to refuse him. She would definitely come tonight. Putting away her phone, Gale's face was almost crumpled with worry. Why do you look so gloomy? Just go, there's no harm in going, Summer said. If Shawn finds out. He should. Summer patted her shoulder. If he can cuddle up with Ivy, you can have dinner with Orem. What's wrong with that? That made sense. Gale suddenly straightened up. Yeah, if he could get cozy with Ivy in those photos, why could not she have dinner with Orem? Besides, today was Orem's birthday. Going to celebrate was perfectly reasonable. She certainly would not be cuddling up with Orem like that. Right. Gale nodded. That's settled. Summer felt very satisfying. That's more like it, tit for tat. Let's see if Shawn dares to get so close to other women in the future. I have to go now. Since it was Orem's birthday, Gale had to bring a cake and buy a gift. She carefully selected a birthday cake design and ordered a scarf from the mall. As soon as it was time to leave work, Gale left, punctual as always. So, when Shawn arrived at the jewelry department and saw her empty desk, he frowned. Where's Gale? Gale left work already, right on time, Peach replied. Since when did Gale leave work so promptly? Was she deliberately avoiding him? Was she still angry? Shawn looked at Peach. Did she say anything else? No, Mr. Wood. She swallowed nervously. But she mentioned she had to go see a friend tonight and needed to leave early. See a friend? Who? Was it a man or a woman? What for? Gale didn't say much. Peach looked at Shawn's increasingly gloomy expression and shrunk her neck. I don't know anything else. Shawn pursed his lips. Coincidentally, Summer came out of the office, also ready to leave work. Why are you still here? Shawn asked. Summer looked puzzled. Why can't I be here? You didn't go with Gale? Summer smiled mysteriously. She had plans. I can't follow her and be a light bulb. Isn't that inappropriate? Shawn's expression darkened a few shades more. Plans? Plans? She didn't tell you? It's Orem's birthday, she's going to celebrate with him, Summer said provocatively. Shawn had an ugly expression on his face. She left work right on time to rush to Orm's birthday party. He felt overwhelmingly jealous. Was Gale deliberately retaliating against him? Chapter 1718. However, he and Ivy were completely innocent. Ivy did not even like him. They were only together because of work. It was different with Orm and Gale. Orm deeply loved Gale. In this situation, how could Shawn endure it? Summer deliberately asked, "Mr. Wood, Gale is just going to celebrate an old friend's birthday. It's completely within the bounds of normal social interaction, right? You're not angry, are you? You wouldn't be, right?" Shawn gave her a chilly glance. Summer was not intimidated, she even met his gaze. She was daring. Shawn must be really annoyed. Peach shrunk her neck and lowered her head, trying to minimize her presence. The scene was suffocating. Shawn snorted coldly and turned to leave. Summer crossed her arms, looking smug. "You're a hypocrite." Joe approached. "Who's a hypocrite? What are you talking about?" Startled, Summer quickly shook her head. "Nothing, I'm leaving. Going home." Seeing Joe, she panicked, like a mouse seeing a cat. Summer did not dare to look back as she walked until she reached the garage. She heard footsteps behind her and then turned around. Joe stood about 2 or 3 meters away from her. "Why were you following me all the way?" "I suddenly remembered something I wanted to talk to you about." "You walked too fast, and I didn't get a chance," Joe said, slowly approaching her. "Nonsense." Summer knew exactly what he was up to. He clearly wanted to find a quiet, dimly lit place where they could be alone. The office was too crowded and inconvenient. Summer gripped the car door handle, about to enter, but Joe was faster. His hand propped the door open while the other embraced her. "Why are you running?" "I'm not going to do anything to you," Joe said. "It's after work hours. I'm free to go. If you have work-related matters, let's talk tomorrow. You can't exploit me." "Actually, I want to talk about personal matters, and it's only appropriate to discuss them during personal time." Summer swallowed nervously. She had a bad feeling about this. She knew what Joe wanted to talk about: the bet. One bet ended, and now there was another one. Summer felt like she was losing her mind or falling into Joe's trap. What did she have to gain or lose from this bet? It was just causing trouble for herself. Joe was sticking to her like a plaster, and she could not shake him off. "I think it's better to talk about it tomorrow." Summer coughed. "I have something to do tonight, so I'm leaving." "What could you possibly have to do? Are you also going to Orm's birthday party?" She was speechless. From the looks of it, Joe was not planning to let her go. Summer gritted her teeth and looked up at him. "Okay, just say it. Are you looking for me because of the bet I won?" "That's right." It seemed that Joe knew exactly what was on her mind. Then, there was no need for him to say more. Just consider it void, it was just a joke. How could I take advantage of you, bully you, and bet on something I will surely win? A joke? "So, you mean it doesn't count?" Yes, I'm not that kind of person. I have principles. How could I take the win? It's disgraceful." Chapter 1719. Joe leaned in close. "Summer, I wanted you to win." Summer's back was pressed against the car, with Joe getting closer and closer to her. She had nowhere to hide. No. Summer waved her hands repeatedly, pressing against his chest to prevent him from getting closer. "I accepted the punishment for losing the previous bet willingly. That's where it ends." "But then we made another bet. I remember what we bet on." Not only did he remember, but Summer did too. The bet on whether Joe would fall in love with her. She bet he would not. Joe bet he would. It was a wager Summer had come up with after much deliberation. Now, looking back, Summer had no idea what she was thinking. Winning did not make her happy. No, wait, how could she possibly lose? If she lost, that meant Joe had fallen in love with her. Thinking of this, Summer suddenly looked at Joe. You, she stuttered, not knowing what to say, her mind going blank. "What about me?" Joe leaned in closer. "Can we cancel the bet? Is that okay? I don't want to bet anymore, I don't want to win against you, and I definitely don't want you to be my servant." Summer began to back down. She just wanted to stay as far away from Joe as possible. She felt continuing to be entangled with him like this would lead to trouble. Summer could already feel her heart wavering. She always subconsciously felt that Joe was the same as Shawn, and falling in love with such a man would mean going through a painful ordeal. She would be like Gale, a roller coaster ride all the time. Love itself was torturous. Summer did not want that kind of life, Nor did she want to be hurt because of loving someone unless that person loved her more than she loved him. Joe looked at her intently. Summer, do you remember what you bet on? Are you sure you still remember clearly? She nodded. So why do you think you would win? Why wouldn't it be me? Joe said slowly. Summer widened her eyes. What did Joe mean by that? She guessed it, but she dared not think about it. Unfortunately, Joe had called it out. You bet that I wouldn't fall in love with you, so you win. But, Summer, if I were to tell you now that I have fallen in love with you, then the winner would be me, he said very slowly, as if afraid she would not hear clearly or react in time. Summer stared blankly at him. Isn't that right? Summer nodded. Yes. The garage fell silent, so silent that she could hear her own heartbeat pounding. So, Summer, even if you don't want to win, you will lose. If you want to back out, I won't stop. The loser must be willing to accept defeat and fulfill the bet, Joe said. Summer blinked. At this moment, her brain was not functioning at all. She just looked at Joe. Actually, he was really handsome. Chapter 1720. Joe was roguishly handsome. The formal suit he wore did not conceal that roguish charm, instead, it accentuated it. His eyes were slightly upturned, and they seemed to hold endless affection. When he gazed at someone, it felt like he could draw their soul into his gaze. You don't want to win, so that's losing by default. Summer, it's your choice, Joe said. Her legs went weak, and she collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, Joe reached out to support her. What do you want? Summer trembled as she asked. I want you. Summer was already dazed, and now it felt like a bolt from the blue had struck her head. Was Joe confessing? Was he? For all these years, Summer, can't you see my feelings for you? Have you never felt anything? Or did you realize, but choose to ignore it? Joe asked. The time you won the bet, we spent a month together like a couple. Weren't you happy? If we could live like that forever, wouldn't it be wonderful? Summer, stop avoiding it and running away from me. It's time for us to have an answer between us. Summer looked at him, feeling that he was both familiar and strange. If she took a step forward, she could embrace him and lean on his chest. If she took a step back, she would be rejecting him. What should she do? Seeing Summer hesitating to respond, Joe's expression darkened slightly. Fine, I'll give you some time to think it over. Answer me after you've considered it carefully, he said. Joe stepped back at the right moment and let go of her. Can you still drive? I can, she stuttered. Drive safely. Summer instinctively sat in the car, started the engine, and drove away. Joe shook his head helplessly and sighed, but also found it amusing. This silly Summer. He asked her if she remembered the bet, and she said she did. However, the bet was not at all like what he had just said. Joe would never forget this bet. It was Summer who proposed it, and he even remembered her proud and triumphant expression at the time. Joe, if I fall in love with you this month, then I lose. If I don't fall in love with you, then I win. Her clear voice still echoed in his ears. It seemed that she only vaguely remembered whether she fell in love or not, but completely forgot the order. It was not about whether Joe would fall in love with her, it was about whether she would fall in love with Joe. How could Summer control whether Joe loved her or not? That was his business. The only thing she could control was herself. If she wanted to win steadily, she had to bet on whether she would fall in love with him, not whether he would fall in love with her. Unfortunately, she was too flustered just now. Plus, Joe was getting closer step by step, making it even harder for her to remember. Perfect. Since she did not remember, Joe could just lie. If Summer happened to remember later, they would deal with it then. Anyway, Joe had plenty of ways. During the rush hour traffic after work, Summer held the steering wheel and stared blankly at the cityscape outside while waiting at the traffic lights. Joe liked her? Was he confessing? How could he like her? From the moment they met, they were enemies. It would be weird if they did not argue or quarrel every day.